All right, guys, welcome back to Whatever This Is with Hawk for our YouTube page. So, the New York Times put out a thing. They had spoken with 13 young, undecided Americans for several months leading up to Election Day. And then they put out a thing, with a bunch of questions that they had asked them and a bunch of comments that they made, these young people made in response. Um, I had thought that Gen Z was going to break heavily for Kamala Harris in this election. I was wrong on that. They didn't. And I think you'll see why when I read through some of these questions and answers. Um, let's just dive in, shall we? In the end, who did you vote for? What was the key moment that helped you make your decision? Mark, 24 years old, California, a black chef who voted for Joe Biden in 2020. I voted for Jill Stein. I came to that conclusion when Kamala said she wouldn't do anything different from Joe Biden. The war in Gaza, da 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 da. Pierce, 26 years old, white male from North Carolina. I voted for Donald Trump. I decided that after Kamala Harris went on the podcast Call Her Daddy. Lillian, 27, white, digital advertising, voted for Trump in 2020. I voted for Trump and made that decision the same day the mainstream media was having a meltdown after the Madison Square Garden rally. I also saw an ad from Democrats about abortion misinformation that made me really upset. I said, you know what? I'm going to vote for Trump. Everybody hates him. They're lying about pregnancies. Let's just do it. So Lillian voted for Trump in 2020 and was bringing this kind of an attitude into the 2024 election. So right off the bat, I'm curious as to why the New York Times classified some of these voters as undecided. Joseph, 24, South Carolina, white, high school teacher, voted for Joe Biden in 2020. I voted for Trump. I made the decision after he appeared on Joe Rogan. Thanks, Joseph. Jasper, 25, California, biracial, voted for Biden in 2020. I voted for Trump. It was after realizing that many Democrats only preferred Harris because of her rhetoric and not because of her policies. Aisha, 21, a South Asian student from Iowa. I ended up voting for Kamala Harris because I did not want to vote for a convicted felon. Through a lot of these comments, I came to like Aisha. Abigail, 23, white, graduate assistant, voted for Biden 2020. I can't believe it, but I did end up voting for Donald Trump. I made that decision when I saw J.D. Vance's interview with the New York Times. George, 21, white student, didn't vote in 2020. I voted for Donald Trump. Like Abigail, I was really impressed with J.D. Vance, especially during the VP debate. George, as you will see, along with Abigail, they're kind of idiots. All right. McLean, a white woman, 25 years old, in the legal field, lives in Washington, D.C. I shocked myself and voted for Donald Trump. Please don't tell my family. I was so impressed by J.D. Vance, the way he carried himself and how normal he appeared. I think I became radicalized on the men and women's sports issue. The ad that said Kamala represents they, them, Trump represents you. That was so compelling. While Trump is deranged, he represented normalcy somehow to me. Was there a moment during the final 2 weeks of the race that caused you to think, oh, wow, this is not what I was expecting. This really matters to me? Jack, 22, lives in New York, white, voted for Biden in 2020. The Joe Rogan interview was huge for me. Abigail, the graduate assistant from Virginia. I saw how the media has become so corrupted in their cause against Trump. There was that Trump clip of him saying, put Cheney in front of a bunch of shooters, but he wasn't actually implying that Cheney should be shot. I cannot vote for an establishment that just thinks it's okay to lie to us. Okay, so the media lied to us. Therefore, I can't vote for Kamala Harris because the media lied. Lillian, my favorite 27-year-old white woman from Virginia. The thing that really hit the nail in the coffin for me was when Biden called half the country garbage and then the White House moved to change the record officially. That really bothered me. That made me really want to rally against them. Apparently, she's never heard literally anything that's come out of Donald Trump's mouth. Joseph, 24, South Carolina, white high school teacher. The mainstream media was carrying Kamala Harris's water. We need a check on the president to have a healthy democracy. If Kamala Harris was elected, there wouldn't be a check on her from the media because thank God we have a check on Donald Trump from our mainstream media. How many of you, by show of hands, dislike both candidates? Jasper, 25. I kind of wish Democrats had actually gone through the process of selecting someone rather than just kicking out Joe Biden and doing the hokey pokey with Kamala Harris. I highlighted that comment because it's pretty rare that you hear a 25-year-old use the phrase hokey pokey. Yeah, that guy's an asshole. Let's see. Was there a specific advert? Yeah, they all talked about the trans ad. They all talked about the trans ad. The trans ad. Then there was also this, Abigail, 23, white graduate student from Virginia. The ad where there are two married couples and the two wives went in to vote secretly and they glanced at each other, then they both voted for Kamala Harris. Oh my gosh. Is that what you think of married women? That we don't have the confidence to marry men who are our equal partners? I cannot vote for a party that thinks that poorly of me. Aisha, knocking it out of the park on this one, South Asian 21-year-old from Iowa. Whenever I'd see an ad where Kamala Harris would tell me that today is the day I should donate to her party, it was just like, girl, I'm broke. Go away. Let me watch my YouTube video. I like Aisha. Mark, 24, black chef from California. They go after Trump and they never went after Kamala. They have their own biases, and they let it seep into their coverage of the election. A bunch of these Trumpers kept saying it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. George, 21, white student from Georgia, reiterated one of the other points I just read. It's the headlines. It's these leads that they're putting in newspapers. The Liz Cheney stuff was just despicable. It was like, oh, Trump threatens Liz Cheney. Well, no, he wasn't threatening her. He was just saying if she was in the situation that so many American soldiers have been in, would she still be this hawkish on war? He was like, let's see her up against a wall with the guns pointed at our face, with 9 guns pointed at our face shooting. Okay. George's not big on listening comprehension. That's a stupid comment. Aisha, again, making another one. Another good point. Most people don't read the whole articles. They read the headline and form their own opinion, and the headlines are often very anti-Trump. Valid observation. Give me a word or phrase to describe the election in 2024. Exciting. I pray we didn't make a mistake. Planning and hard work pays off for the victor. Thanks, Jack. Democrats still haven't learned to be not crazy. Make America normal again. Democracy in America wins. Aisha, again, coming in hot. At least there's not going to be another January 6th. Valid point, Aisha. But, you know. This I love. Angelo, 19. Oh, my God. He started talking about how Kamala Harris was not honest and phony and was not honest about her position. And they said, Angelo, what's an example where you felt she was being dishonest? Angelo, 19, New York, Latino. The whole fracking thing. I got $50 that says Angelo doesn't even know what the fuck fracking is. What do you believe Trump will do as president? George, 21, Georgia, white. Trump's going to unleash the U.S. economy. He misspelled crush. Aisha, in her one subpar answer in this survey, 21, South Asian from Iowa, there will be mass deportations and hopefully that will bring down crime. Ooh, so close. So close. There were a couple more good ones here. What are some policies that Donald Trump talked about during the campaign that you don't want him to pursue? Taxpayer-funded IVF. So many of them said this. He's been cagey about his support for Ukraine. I hope he resoundingly supports Ukraine just as much as we support Israel. Another one. I'm hoping that he keeps the United States in NATO. Jack, 22, white, underwriter in New York who voted for Biden in 2020. This answer fucking cracked me up. He was talking about getting involved with the Fed. That would be a major mistake. You got to keep the Fed independent. Yeah, I don't want him to mess with the Fed. I mean, how many 22-year-olds you know that are walking around like, oh my God, the Fed, man. Oh, he's going to do something to the Fed. Oh, this I love. Donald Trump is the next president. Give him a sentence or two of advice. We've given you a second chance, so don't mess it up. I think Donald Trump should go on Joe Rogan regularly. That would be a cool way to check in and give a progress update. Listen to people like Elon Musk. Be gracious to your opponents and don't make everything about yourself. So maybe we should restrict voting to 25 and up. Anywho, oh God, describe Kamala Harris's campaign for me in a word or phrase. Empty, disingenuous, manipulative, a whirlwind, radical, without substance, wine and cheese crowd, excruciatingly painful to support, rushed and disastrous, missing in action, mediocre. Again, New York Times. What was your criteria for finding voters that were quote unquote undecided? Yeah. All right. Wrapping this one up. What issue did your vote come down to in the end? The economy and war in the Middle East, abortion, economy and world peace, strength, the economy, democracy, the border, lowering the debt, good luck, peaceful transfer of power, voting against the out-of-touch progressivism of Kamala, spoken like a true undecided voter, opposing the Democrats. Anyway, so much for Gen Z saving us. I mean, Jesus Christ. And obviously I'm not talking about all of them, but they sound like a bunch of fucking boomers who watch Fox News all day. And if you're not a boomer who watches Fox News all day, that comment doesn't apply to you, and you don't need to come into the comments and say not all boomers, because that makes you sound like the not all men crowd, which is to say not great. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to this episode of whatever the hell this is with Hawk. Yeah. Tomorrow's Friday. Everybody have an amazing weekend. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the people you care about. And be safe. I'll see you soon.